Hello there. I've been getting creative with Shotcut. Yes, take a look at these text logo designs I've been making. They all featured a mix of text and an animated or moving line. Now here's the plan. In this video, section 1, I give you a step-by-step guide to creating 2 resource videos. The resource videos are black and white. Here's resource video 1. The white line slides in from the left, then slides out at the end. In resource video 2, the line expands out from the centre, then contracts into the middle at the end. I call them resource videos because once you've made them, you can keep them as a useful resource so you can easily use them to add animated lines to any video of your choice. Then in section 2, I show you how to import them, resize them, and in section 3, I show you how to add text to your logo. Now before I start, you can actually download the 2 resource videos for free by clicking in the YouTube description below. So if you prefer, you could do this and then skip section 1 and go straight to section 2. However, I do hope you stay to watch section 1 because I'll be showing you some useful Shotcut tips and tricks that I don't want you to miss. Here we go then, section 1. First, let me tell you I'm using Shotcut version 21.03. and my video mode is 1080p at 25 frames per second. So here's how to begin to make resource video 1. Go to Open Other, then Color, then select a white colour and drag to the timeline. Click, hold and drag it out. Make it about 10 seconds long. Next, make this colour block into a thin line. Now to do this, I apply a size, position and rotate filter to it. I'll refer to this as an SPR filter from now on. Now click on Distort. This of course allows me to resize the white colour block into any rectangular shape I want without retaining the proportions. However, I'm going to reset the size again to full size, and instead of using the boundary box, I'm going to use the height value field here and set it to 20 pixels. Then select Return. I'll just explain what these 4 value boxes mean. This box is the distance in pixels from the left-hand side of the preview screen. This value is the distance from the top, and the bottom 2 boxes give the width and the height of the colour rectangle you are creating. So I now have a line with a height of 20 pixels and it's positioned at the top. Click on the grid icon and move the line to the middle using the grey button. Here's a tip. To remove the grey boundary box, you can click on this cross icon here to see the white line more clearly. To put it back, click on the filter name. Alternatively, you can click on the small grey output box here. This deselects the clip, so to put it back, click again on the clip. And there is my static white line on a black background. Actually, the black background you see is transparent, not black. I'll be telling you more about that in a moment. Next though, I want to animate or move this line. As I mentioned earlier, I'm going to show you how to do 2 types of animated lines today. One where the line slides in from the left, then slides back out to the left at the end. And secondly, where the line expands out from the centre, then disappears back into the centre. So I'm going to begin to slide the line across. My first step is to add another SPR filter. This time don't select Distort. Then choose a preset from this drop-down menu. Now I'm looking for Slide In from Left. There it is. Now this applies a default 1 second movement to my line, moving the whole screen from completely out of view across to full screen. Here's a preview. So next I go to Filters again and add another SPR filter. Again, I don't select Distort because I'm moving the whole screen. Then I apply a Slide Out Left preset. There it is, and a slide out animation is applied to the end of the clip. Notice I have my keyframes panel set on the left hand side of my timeline. This can be changed, but again it is my preferred Shotcut layout. You can see that what we call simple keyframes have been added to the clip as shown by this grey triangle. This is the end keyframe, and on the other SBR filter you can see the start keyframe here. Now my next stage will be to export this short animated line as a video, which I can then re-import back into my project and add text. However, before I do that, I want to show you how to create the second line animation, the one I mentioned where the line expands outwards from the center and then disappears into the center at the end. This will require a slightly more advanced technique of keyframing, but it's not that difficult to learn. So I'm going to copy my white line clip and paste it over here to the right and create the animation here. Now here's another couple of tips. To easily copy and paste a clip, select it, press C, move the playhead to where you want it to be copied and simply press B. The clip is copied. C, B. Or select the clip, press C, which is the keyboard shortcut by the way for copy to source, then click this source tab here. The clip appears in the preview screen, ready for you to drag it down onto the timeline at whichever position you like. It copies all aspects of the clip, the length, and also any filters added to it. I now remove the two lower SPR filters, which leaves me with just my original static white line. Now I add another SPR filter. This time I need to select Distort because I'm going to change the shape and proportion of the white line. By the way, this process can be done with just one SPR filter, but my preferred way of working, like before, is to use the first SPR filter to set the height of the white line and a second SPR filter to control the movement. Okay, so to create my first keyframe, I make sure my playhead is at the beginning of the clip by double clicking, and I click on this stopwatch icon here. The small white diamond here is my first keyframe. I need to make this white line begin with a width of 0, starting at the center and expanding outwards to full width. So in the SPR value fields I type 0 in the width field here. Then I check that the grid is selected and drag the grey button along to the center. Shotcut has now set my first keyframe with a line having a width of 0 positioned in the center. Next, I press page down to advance the playhead by 1 second. Let me just adjust the magnification of the timeline to make it easier to work. Then, in the SPR filter panel, I click here to revert the line back to full width, then here, which positions it centrally again. Basically, what just happened was that I reverted the second SPR filter back to full width and full height. Shotcut automatically creates the second keyframe at the playhead position there. So when previewed, my line expands out from the center. There we go. Next, I go to the end of the clip by pressing Alt and right arrow. That's the shortcut. Alternatively, you could click here on this icon, then page up to bring the playhead back by 1 second. Then I click the stopwatch icon down here to copy the last keyframe. And finally, I go to the end of the clip by pressing Alt and right arrow again. Then I do the same as I did in keyframe 1. I type 0 in the width field and then drag the grey button to the center. And I'll show you my completed animated line from start to finish. There it is. Okay, now I have two animated lines. My next job is to export them both as two short videos. Now I'm going to temporarily delete the second clip, then select Export File and type a file name for this exported video. Because I have the default settings selected for exporting, the video is automatically given the extension MP4 and it is exported as an MP4 file. My plan is then to import this video into a new Shotcut project, place it on a higher track than the main video and remove the black background by making it transparent. MP4 files don't support transparency, so when rendered my video will have a black background. Alternatively, you could export the video in a type that would have a transparent, not a black background. Okay, there's a list of them in the export panel on the left here in the section named Alpha. Now the two most common types are .mov files, also known as QuickTime animations, and WebM files, which are also known as VP9 files. Exporting my video as one of these file types would mean that I didn't have to make the background transparent later on. However, to avoid making this tutorial too complex, I'm going to continue working with the MP4 file type because it's a very common file type and because it's pretty easy to make the background transparent anyway. I'll show you how this is done very soon. My next task is to export the second clip as well to give me my second resource video. So I press undo, delete the first clip, and then move the second clip to the beginning. Then I export this as my second MP4 video. As soon as it begins exporting, I click undo twice again to get my first clip back. Then I save the project and open a new blank project. So in my new project, I go to Open File and select a short background video clip I made earlier. It's a simple zoomed in photo of some rather beautiful Yorkshire countryside here in England. Lovely. I add one more empty track by using this menu here, or keyboard shortcut Ctrl-I. Now the MP4s are now exported, so I go to the Jobs panel and double click the first entry. The white line video appears in the preview pane. This is a great feature of Shotcut. You don't have to search for where you exported it to. So I drag it down to the timeline onto track V2. Now to remove this black background, I can do one of two things. One, I could apply a blend mode filter to the clip and set it to add. Or two, I could apply what we call a chroma key filter to the clip. So what's the difference between these two methods? For an image which is totally black and white, if you apply a blend mode and set it to add, the black becomes transparent and the white remains white. The same thing happens when you apply a chroma key filter and select the black colour. However, especially when you have text with curves, the blend mode filter gives better results. Using the chroma key filter can leave you with messy edges, especially as I said if you have curved text. If your line was coloured, then you would have to use the chroma key filter. So for now, especially since my logo video is black and white, and also because I want my line to be white, I'm going to choose the blend mode approach. So in the filters pane, I press plus and begin typing BLEND. Now the filter appears, there it is. In the drop down menu where it says over, I go down to add and select it. Like magic, the black background disappears and the animated white line remains. Next, I add an SPR filter, select distort, and then I can resize this white line and position it where I like on screen by dragging the boundary box and by moving the grey center button. Notice that by stretching it downwards or upwards, I can make the line thicker or thinner, and by stretching or squashing it sideways, I can make it as wide or as narrow as I like. Here's another tip. If you hover your mouse over it and use the mouse wheel, you can quickly resize the line easily without having to use the boundary box. It's really good. Now I'm going to split this animated line into three parts, the beginning, middle and end. This is to demonstrate that if I require, I can change the speed of the beginning and end animations and also change the duration of the middle part. So I navigate to the spot where the line reaches full width. It may help you to use a combination of pressing the spacebar to play the video, then use the right or left arrow keys to advance a frame at a time. Alternatively, if you hover your mouse over this time counter here and turn your mouse wheel up or down, it's a handy way of advancing frame by frame. Now when you've found the right position, press S, then do the same for the ending section and you end up with 3 sections. If you wanted to change the speed of the beginning and end parts, do it by selecting the section, go to Properties and type a value in the speed field here. Let's say 2 for twice as fast or 3 for 3 times faster. Notice that when you do this and press return, the clip will change its size accordingly. Remove the gaps by dragging or right-clicking the gap and selecting Remove. In the middle section, of course, the line is static. If you want to shorten the duration of the middle part, you can simply cut out a section. Now, how would you extend this middle section if you wanted it longer? The answer is to cut out a portion of the middle section, copy it, move the end section along, then paste the section into the gap as many times as you like. I mentioned the copy to source feature before. press C, then the Source tab, then drag. So it's C, Source, drag. Simple. Okay, so there we are. An easy method of adding an animated line to your video. Next, I get creative by adding some text. In this section, I show you how to easily create these two designs. First of all, a text title, and then a lower thirds effect. So here goes. I start again with a new Shotcut project. First, I create 3 blank video tracks by pressing Ctrl-I 3 times. I go to Open File, and I select the animated line MP4 video I just made, the one that expands outwards from the centre. Now drag it down to the timeline and place it on track V1. This time I'm going to leave it with a black background. Next I go to Open Other again and select text. In the previous screen I type Yorkshire, there we are, and I drag it down to the timeline. In the text pane I'm going to search for a suitable font. Today I'm choosing the font Seago UI Lite. I'm leaving the box Use Font Size ticked, and I select 150 here to give the text a size of 150 pixels. I also make the thickness a value of 0 here because I don't want a border around my text characters. Next I click on the grid icon and position the text centrally, but I move it just above the white line. Now I apply a fade in and a fade out to my text. The quickest way is to double click the left hand corner on the black circle and also on the right. I go to the Filters panel and I need to tick here where it says Adjust Opacity instead of Fade with Black. I will need to do this for both the fade in and the fade out. Here's a preview. By the way, the default fade in and out is 1 second long. This can be changed by sliding the black circle. You can make it fade faster or shorter, but today a fade in and out of 1 second will be just perfect. I now need to resize the white line so that its width is the same as the text. Remember, the easiest way to do this is by hovering and using the mouse wheel. There we are. Then I position the text clip carefully and make sure that the text fades in and out in coordination with the animated line. Then I need to copy this text clip, so I use the C source drag method to do this and put it on track V3. As I mentioned earlier, the fade in and fade out filters are copied. Then I change the text to a beautiful landscape. So, a beautiful landscape. There we go. And I need to change the font size to 80 pixels. There we are. Then I drag it down to just under the line. Then I decide that I want this lower line of text to appear just after the upper text, so I click the clip, hold and drag it slightly to the right. However, I want the 2 lines of text to fade out at exactly the same time, so I press Alt right to get the playhead to the end, then I press O, which is the shortcut for out. This shaves off the end of the clip. Okay, that's my little text logo complete. Next I have 2 options. The first is to add another track with Ctrl-I, move all the clips to 1 level higher, and import the Yorkshire Countryside clip into the project. Then I add a blend mode filter to the line and select Add to make the black background transparent. And here I think is my final text logo effect. However, a second option is to delete the video from V1, and I'm going to export the whole of this animated logo as another MP4 file complete with its black background. So export, export file, and I type in a new file name. While it's exporting, I press undo to get the Yorkshire clip back and I can save the project. Then I delete these 3 clips. Then I go up to the blue bar, double click it and drag the exported text logo down onto track V2. Then I add a blend mode filter to it, set it to add, to again remove the black background. And once again the logo appears over the base countryside video. And here's the final result. Let me explain why I prefer doing this last step of exporting. Let's say I wanted to make this text logo into a smaller text title, or perhaps a nice lower thirds effect. I can now do this easily by simply applying an SBR filter to it and moving it around and resizing it as I like. Don't forget to leave the distort feature unchecked unless you want to change the proportions of this logo. So you could, for example, place it here or here. And a final idea for this tutorial is to add a colour clip behind this text logo to make the white text and lines stand out. So I need to move the text logo one track higher. I then go to Open Other and select a colour clip. I think I'll choose a red colour for this. Drag it down to the timeline. I then add an SBR filter to it. And this time click Distort. Then I can position this colour clip just behind the logo, and the white text stands out really well. I'm now running out of time for this part of my tutorial. However, I can't resist just showing you a couple more creative adjustments. First, let me add a fade in and fade out to the colour clip. Remember to select Adjust Opacity instead of Fade with Black for both the fade in and fade outs. You can see it gives a nice gentle effect to the red box, which suits the character of my video. And another idea, I'm going to add a slight amount of transparency to the red box. I do this by applying an opacity filter to the red colour clip. Filters, opacity. There it is. And I slide this down a little bit. And there you go, a really classy effect. The second idea is to go a step further, and instead of adding opacity, I could add a gradient filter. So I remove the opacity filter, then press the plus icon and begin to type G-R-A-D. There it is, that's the gradient filter. On the left here, I select a red colour. Then here on the right, I select the same red colour, but slide the slider down to about 2/3 of the way down to give a darker red. Now the colour clip is full size, but to resize it back to a small clip, I need to move the gradient filter up a level in the filters pane to the top. I do this by clicking this up arrow here. The gradient filter moves to the top and the colour clip goes back to being small. This is because the gradient effect has to be applied before the size and position filter resizes the clip. Sometimes the order of filters in this list matters. So there we are, my finished text logo effect, and I'm afraid I've now run out of time for this part of my tutorial. I'll now be preparing part 2 of this tutorial series, and I'll be showing you how you can get even more creative with these text logos. But for the moment, I hope you have found this tutorial helpful, and I do look forward to showing you more techniques in part 2. Thanks for watching, bye for now.